group of astrophysicists think they may have just discovered proof of alien life, and what they may have found is something that previously only existed in science fiction. And they don't think that they just found one of these things. They think that they found 7, and they're in our own galaxy.
7 is crazy.
This is a Dyson sphere.
That
The
look
idea
wrong.
of these alien megastructures was first mentioned in 1937 by British philosopher and science fiction author
What it said? It said not only was every solar system now surrounded by a gauze of light traps, which focused the escaping solar energy for intelligent use, so that the whole galaxy was dimmed.
Stapleton in his book called Star Maker, where he described a civilization becoming so advanced they could build impossibly giant structures around an entire star to harness its energy.
Yeah, that's wrong.
23 years later, physicist Freeman Dyson published a paper detailing not only how these alien
But if you think about it, if you can harness the energy that's coming from an entire planet, well, a star basically, then you should have so much energy to, you feel me, make all type of new technology to travel through space well faster than what we got right now.
structures would theoretically work, but he also detailed how to find them in the universe. This is what a group of astrophysicists working on a project called Project Hephaestus think that they may have found right in our own galactic backyard.
Dang.
So is this true? Did they really find 7 examples of Dyson spheres, or did they simply find 7 unexplained phenomena in our galaxy and these astronomers just want them to be Dyson spheres? So let's talk all things Dyson spheres and how the idea of them actually being discovered and existing might not be as science fiction as you think. And a special thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring a portion of this video.
They got us. That was a good ad though.
So in order
For
to
sure.
figure out if Dyson spheres exist in the universe, let's start with how any civilization would build one in the first place, and more importantly, how they would get enough material to build one at all. Throughout history, technological advancements have been strongly tied to access to energy. This has been true
Definitely.
for all civilizations here on Earth. The more civilization can create or harness energy, the more advanced that civilization can become. We currently exhibit this on a small scale with 3 major categories: fossil fuels, nuclear energy, and renewable energy. As we have gained greater control over each energy source, we've seen our own civilization progress. If all
Yep.
goes well and, we don't destroy ourselves along the way, humanity will reach a point where we have complete control over our planet's resources. At this point, humanity would have reached the first of 3 levels in something called the Kardashev scale. This scale categorizes civilizations based on what type of control they have over the energy available to them. A Type 1 civilization has complete control over its planet's resources,
Yeah.
even being able to manipulate and control the planet's weather patterns and even harness things like volcanoes, storms, and earthquake to convert it all to usable energy. A Type 2
Bro, but you gotta think about it, bro. If we become a type 1 civilization, bro, it will stop so many like storms, unnatural disasters. Like it will come to a point where we will probably be able to cause them ourselves to just use, like he said, like harness energy. Like in my mind, I'm like, bro, that sounds like so far from where we are right now, but like that's so raw, bro. I don't know. When you think about it, it's so raw. I ain't gonna lie. Like when I be hearing about a tornado coming in my area, you feel me? I'm scared. You feel me? Nervous, cause there ain't nothing you can do. But if we become a type 1, we can easily get rid of it or contain it. All type of stuff, bro.
civilization has the ability to control the energy from its own host star. If humanity were to reach this scale, we would easily be able to travel around our own solar system freely to other parts
Exactly.
of the galaxy, or even be able to travel to other galaxies with things like warp drives or wormholes. Energy would be so abundant that humanity would no longer be restricted on where we could explore. And finally, a Type 3 civilization has the ability to control the energy from every star in its host galaxy. The Milky Way alone has around 100 billion stars, so imagining what a Type 3 civilization could do with that power is really hard to grasp. And keep in mind, for context, humanity isn't even a Type 1 civilization yet. We're still
Exactly.
considered a Type 0. But if you really want to put a number behind it as to where we are, we're about a 0.7 civilization on the Kardashev scale. Alright, so now knowing that, where do Dyson spheres come in with all of this? Well, we would expect to see Type 2 civilizations capable of constructing a Dyson sphere, harnessing all the power available from its host star. And there have been multiple proposed versions of Dyson spheres from both astrophysicists and sci-fi authors alike.
Bro, but you gotta think about it. To make a Dyson sphere, you gotta think about it. Do you know how much material you need to cover an entire star? Like, especially our sun. If we were able to cover our sun, you feel me? We could probably like let it be heat certain times, all type of. But you can't really fully cover it because it would be very cold, right? Too. That would definitely be a factor you gotta play. But long story short, you know how much material it takes to cover an entire star, especially when it's way bigger than the Earth that we are on right now, bro.
Some that encase the entire star, gathering 100% of its energy output,
We
although
can't do
this
that.
design would be very vulnerable to destabilization, collisions, and just possibly falling into the host star itself. However, the other
Mhm.
option would be a Dyson swarm, which
Gravity.
is placing trillions or quadrillions of solar panels all around the star like rings or satellites, capturing
See,
energy
that's
with
way
those giant
more
solar panels in all
reasonable.
directions around the star. But no matter which version is built, the amount of
Still,
material that's needed to
exactly,
build
bro.
such a superstructure would be beyond anything that the civilization's planet would be able to provide alone. One
Exactly,
solution would be
bro.
for a civilization to take materials from another planet within its system. If humanity were to do this, then the best candidate would be Mercury. And I'm not talking about just going there and mining large amounts of materials from Mercury itself. No, we would need to dismantle and mine nearly the entire planet down to its core in order to have enough material just to build a Dyson swarm around our sun, not even a Dyson sphere. So, how
Bro.
would we go about detecting such giant alien superstructures? Well, that's exactly what Freeman Dyson asked over 60 years ago. He proposed two major ways to detect the existence of a Dyson sphere. The first is that if you were observing a star at a point in our galaxy, you would see that star slowly dim and eventually disappear as a Type 2 civilization built the sphere around the star. The second way would be to detect the infrared light still shining brightly where the star's visible light once was, showing that the star is still there but now only emitting infrared.
But you gotta think about it. Low key, that's raw. A raw way to detect it, though. You know why? Because if you were trying to detect a planet, basically, it would show the star, and then it would just be like a little black dot that crosses it, like a point where the light doesn't fully disappear, but a little it'll dim at a certain part, and it'll just travel around the whole star from what you're seeing. But with this method, the entire thing is blocked off, which makes sense because it's around the star. It's bigger than the star. So that's why the whole star would disappear instead of a piece of it.
Light
So
and
that's raw.
brightness that no other star does naturally. This would be because while the Dyson sphere is gathering energy from its star, the sphere or swarm itself is heating up and giving off excess heat in the form of infrared light. And this is exactly what the group of astrophysicists think that they have detected in our own galaxy.
A
Two
seven
different
though?
teams conducted separate studies, each using different data and equipment like the Gaia telescope and the Weiss telescope, surveying millions of stars and together coming up with 7 candidate stars that may have Dyson spheres surrounding them. But did they actually discover Dyson spheres or something else entirely? But real quick before I answer that question, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I cover a wide variety of space topics. Whether it's about black holes, potential habitable planets light years away, or even Dyson spheres like we're discussing today, it's important to keep my mind sharp so I can effectively
Okay, so this
communicate
this
complex
this
topics to
this
you
that
in a
okay.
digestible form. The main way that I do this
I
is
don't
with
even
this
know where to
video's
skip.
sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is a website to where you learn by doing. It contains thousands and ultimately the creation of interstellar news has been a dream of mine for a very long time. This portion of the video.
Hey, but I ain't gonna lie though. We definitely gonna check out more of his videos. Like I like science a little bit. You feel me?
These may just look like little black dots on a piece of paper, but in reality, they're actually pretty strange. Many of the Dyson Sphere candidates surveyed by one of the teams are classified as red dwarf stars, one of the smaller and certainly the most abundant type of star in the universe. But these red dwarf stars are sitting anywhere around 500 to 900 light years away from Earth and are emitting 60 times the amount of infrared light as they should be. The second team surveyed stars of varying size, not just red dwarf stars, and some of those stars were even close in size to our own sun, but these stars on average were a lot further away, around 6,500 light years from Earth. And on top of all that, it was predicted that if a Dyson swarm were to exist around the star, the excess infrared brightness would sit around 25 degrees Celsius, and according to these studies, this is exactly what we're seeing. So on the surface, it would seem that if these 7 candidates are actually alien superstructures, they wouldn't be Dyson spheres, they would more likely be Dyson swarms, which is that series of satellite-like objects surrounding a star, not fully encompassing an entire star. But you know how the universe can be, it typically doesn't give answers like this so easily. It's always a good idea to approach any...
But you gotta think about it, bro. Even if it is a Dyson sphere, uh, at least one of the 7, how will we even get there to even figure out how that whoever made it? Like, you feel me? Like, it will take years upon years to even make it out there. So it's like, is this information useless? Like, I don't know. But think about it. If we do get out there, low key, the people that made it, if we find them, low key could help come back with us and help us. You feel me? I don't know.
Discoveries like this with a heavy dose of skepticism.
That's it.
It's really important to remember that any findings in these papers are extremely preliminary, and to the credit of both of these papers, they openly admit that natural explanations could sufficiently explain these strange findings, but I'll touch on all that in just a moment. First, I wanted to highlight how this whole thing is a really great example of one of science's dirty little secrets.
Unlimited power, obviously.
Search for signs of intelligent life. There's a new study that may suggest we are not alone.
What? Space is so crazy. I wish I understood it better.
Science as a whole, and probably to the surprise of no one, has a huge communication problem, especially when it comes to space topics. Oftentimes, the subject matter is so complex that scientists simply can't find a way to effectively explain it in an approachable manner. And scientists know very well that if they can't make it approachable, it's not likely that the public will take much of an interest in it. And without public interest, investors and companies funding their research might not find it as valuable or profitable to continue to support their research efforts, sunsetting the hopes and dreams of these research teams doing genuinely important work. But you know what the public does respond to? Aliens, and the potential for the discovery of alien life. So these scientists, in this case astronomers and astrophysicists, will adjust how they present their research to reflect those public interests.
See,
the
it's
playbook
not
is pretty simple.
clickbait.
You make the headline about an alien superstructure, something that will capture the curiosity of sci-fi and non-sci-fi fans alike, in hopes that the research will hit enough publications, make their rounds on social media, and create a public demand for further answers, thus ensuring that companies and investors will continue to fund their research. Now, you may interpret that as all scientific papers are purposefully being turned into clickbait. And while that's sometimes true, that's not really what's happening here. In the instance of these 2 papers about Dyson spheres, the science being conducted is actually good science that's producing genuinely fascinating results and insights into the universe. But you know, researchers know that...
Look, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like they say, you need to learn to crawl before you walk. You need to learn how to walk before you run. We need to become a type 1 civilization before we even start looking towards Dyson spheres. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely.
And superstructures is a catchier and sexier headline. Think of it as the scientists just trying to put really good cover art on their books. I mean, how many incredible books have you read in your life that have terrible cover art? Most people have probably just passed over some of your favorite books at the bookstore for that reason alone, and are simply missing out on endless incredible novels just because the pictures on the cover of the book aren't necessarily as interesting as the next. That's sort of what's going on here. These astrophysicists are trying to give you a pretty dust cover to look at and hope that you will read the content and become interested in the mind-blowing, absolutely awesome realities of the universe on its own. And the possible natural explanations of these 7 potential Dyson swarms are great examples of this. For example, all of these could just be hot planetary disks producing extra emissions. The dim visible light signatures could be caused by dust and clouds blocking the star's light, and the infrared signatures could be produced as a result of the same dust and clouds simply heating up. Another example could be that huge collisions are happening in these planetary systems, producing large enough clouds of planetary debris to create these results. Or, it could just be simply that these stars are naturally behaving in ways that we haven't seen before, and we're getting to see new types of stages in a star's life cycle. All of these are just as likely, if not more so, than the possibility of Dyson spheres or Dyson swarms. Further studies are going to be absolutely required from something like the James Webb Telescope in order to be certain about any of these possibilities. In fact, since the original papers have come out about Project Hephaestus, new studies have already been conducted that have explained 3 of the 7 possible Dyson spheres candidates. A different team of astronomers used the Very Large Array Sky Survey, or VLAS, which is an array of radio wave telescopes, and they found through those radio waves that the heat emissions being detected are not coming from the stars themselves in 3 out of the 7 candidates. So what does that mean? Well, it means that at least 3 of these are almost certainly not Dyson spheres. They are more likely hot dog galaxies. Wait, nope, not that kind of hot dog. A hot dust obscured galaxy. And while these are very common phenomena in the universe, they are notoriously difficult to find. A hot dog galaxy in the universe is a quasar with a massive amount of dust swirling around an active black hole in the center, giving off tons of radiation and producing a lot of heat, in turn making the galaxy glow brightly in the infrared. You might be sitting there thinking, well, if hot dog galaxies are known within the astrophysics community, why did they immediately assume Dyson spheres at all? Well, it's likely 2 reasons. One being what I mentioned earlier, aliens will grab people's attention. The other one is that we've only known about hot dog galaxies for about 14 years. This is pretty new information, and finding 7 hot dog galaxies all at once is extremely rare on its own, so it wasn't immediately assumed to be the explanation. Now, that's not saying that the other 4 candidates aren't Dyson spheres or Dyson swarms, because the truth is, we still have absolutely no idea what they are, so all possibilities are welcome to the table. But even if they do turn out to all be hot dog galaxies, that's still really cool. I mean, we're talking about the process of a very rare ancient active black hole consuming and clearing out a galaxy-sized amount of dust, and we're getting to watch the light signatures of it happening in our very own galaxy. That's crazy. And if I'm being honest,
I don't know, bro. Cause them type of galaxies would not like those should scare people. But think about it. If it collect all that dust, it probably most likely gonna get bigger. And what if it start heading our direction? Like, hey
black
man,
holes, quasars specifically, are far cooler and far more interesting than any other alien topic that you can present to me. And all this is sort of my point about this particular story and these particular findings about Dyson spheres. The scientists put forward a more tantalizing version of the results to gain public interest, where I don't think they necessarily had to. Hot dog galaxies are interesting enough on their own, and in my opinion, also have a very attention-grabbing name. Because in the end, I think the likelihood of any of these candidates turning out to be any alien superstructure is extremely low. Not 0, but just very, very low. But only time will tell. We need a lot more time for astronomers to continue surveys and studies on these objects, and telescopes like the James Webb will go a long way in getting those answers faster. But in the meantime, we can all continue to look up at the night sky and dream of what may be out there waiting to be discovered. And if you're anything like me,
okay, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Hey, amazing video. Amazing video. Not gonna lie.